Hello, welcome to another Trinity Teachings. This is lesson 3.4, Divination, color yellow for the spectrum I spoke about prior. Okay, first off, Divination. Divination is basically any form of future telling, I should say. Also omen reading, which is augury, I do believe is how it is pronounced. And I know many different types of omens. I mean, a dog doing something, a broom falling. If I remember right, a broom falling means something about a visitor soon. A dog sitting at the door also could mean a visitor is coming soon. Birds flying a certain pattern can mean something. There's a lot of different types of omens. Anyway. And there's so many different types of divination that, I mean, I don't really want to talk about all in this video due to the fact that, well, it would take up some much time. But I'll talk about a lot of different types of divination and some following videos. But I'll talk about some main ones right now, and just skim them, I should say. There's cartomancy, which is as tarot. There's also a way of reading normal playing cards such that way. It's easier that way because it's probably easier for people to get normal playing cards, go to the store, pick one up, than it would be to get tarot. There's cubomancy, which is done with dice, which is another easy way for people to get. Also a very portable way. It can be done with 2 to 3 dice. There's 2 different ways, just like there's 2 different ways to read normal playing cards. One using all 52, one using only 36. Then there's 2 forms of dice, one using 3 and one using 2. The one using 2 is a bit more complex, but anyway, then there's another way, which actually is an interesting way I learned, with dominoes. There's no fancy term for it, but doing away with like dominoes. It's an interesting way, but a lot of the meanings are kind of negative. I'll talk more about that later. Then bibliomancy, which is basically just asking a question, opening a book to a random page, putting your finger down on a word and reading it, and there's your answer. A simple way, but actually works. Better done with an encyclopedia, a dictionary, or an encyclopedia or dictionary-like book. Let's see, what else? There's also specialty books, I might add, made for such bibliomancy, but that's up to you. Palmistry. Palmistry is done reading the palm, hand lines. Runes, which is just plain runes. There's different ways of doing that. Rune stones and that, and such. Mirror gazing. And scrying. Scrying is basically looking into a bowl of water. Technically, if you've ever heard of Nostradamus, he did that, actually. Nostradamus was a scryer. He, all his famous quatrains and predictions and all that were all done doing, staring into a bowl of water. I know, it's extremely, weird, but he's actually very famous for what he's done. He's got over some 100 quatrains. I actually have a book on his. You can easily go look in the library or on the computer to look up his predictions. Just type in Nostradamus predictions and you should be able to find them, especially in Google. It's kind of I wouldn't say outdated, but then again, there are a lot of outdated forms of divination, I have to admit. That like for animal bone casting is still kind of common, but you have buy bones and you go get them away. There's ways of reading the future by. I know some of these seem kind of. I'm going to talk about are kind of brutal, but then again, these were also from different cultures. I'm just going to say. One culture, I forget exactly which one it was, but basically would cut open an animal, and its guts would, tell you the future. There's other forms of pyromancy, which is reading fire, the shapes it makes, throwing bones into it, or throwing things into it, burning or not burning means things. Teasomancy, if I think is how you pronounce it, it's reading tea leaves. And there's tons of shapes they could make that you could read and find things out about. Let me think, what else? There's readings with gemstones, that you can use gemstones. That game Mahjong, the tiles are actually a way of using to make, to read, the tiles each have their own meaning that you can read with. That's very uncommon, though. Here's an interesting one. There's actually 2 kind of like this. One, you can tell about a person by the moles or markings on their bodies. It's kind of like like the opposite of palmistry is reading of the feet. I forget exactly what it's called, but it was reading of the feet. It's basically like palmistry, just reverse. However, that one's very uncommon, just like this other one, which I forget the name of, but it's done with reading moles and markings on people's bodies. Now, surprisingly, it's actually still done today. I did not believe it, but I looked it up. There are still people who do this. I've actually looked and up some ways, but people pay money to go into some room with somebody, get naked, and have this person examine their body, where their moles are and all this, and tells you about them. It's basically a larger form of palmistry with your entire body. Then again, reading the human body, there's many different ways of reading the human body to tell the future. One involves reading the lumps and shape of someone's skull. The other one, this is called phallomancy, if I'm pronouncing it right. And I know I found this one completely hit me off guard. I was going through Raymond Buckland's fortune-telling book, the Encyclopedia of Divination and Soothsaying, which I suggest you look at if you want to learn more. About tons of different forms of divination. That's where I learned a lot of things from. It talks about how you can tell about a man's personality, lovemaking style, all that, just by the length, size, shape, thickness, if there's any blemishes around, of his penis. It caught me completely off guard. I was flipping through pages. I kind of use bibliomancy in a way. I just opened the page to see what I would find, and that's what I found. I found several different types of divination this way. Numerology is another divination I found that way, to get off that one subject. Then again, numerology is a separate thing on its own, but then again, there's different forms of numerology that fit into divination, such as the I Ching. I Ching, basically you assign numbers to each of the letters of the alphabet, and you basically take your name, letter at a time, replace them all with the numbers, then you add them all up. Then once you get the 2-digit number at the end, you add those two together, you get the 1-digit number. And the numbers of the alphabet must be going through 1 through 9. There are different ways of forms of doing this. I will actually later on, as I said, I will be placing information on what divination form videos I'm going to be doing after this. In the description bar, I will be placing a link to scans and things of more explanations on some of them. That way you can do them yourself. On what ones I know of. There's some I'm not going to talk about. You'd have to look those up on your own. That's, for example, I don't think I'll do a video on phallomancy for many good reasons. Anyway, back to what I was speaking of. I lost my train of thought. Don't you hate that when that happens? Anyway. And then you get a number in the end, and it matches up with what is called a trigram, and then you take your birth year, and each of those are assigned a different number. So you'd actually have to look this stuff up in an actual book of I Ching. There's also ways to do it online. I actually may do a video on it, and I do have some scans of stuff that may help you, so that one will be talked about later. But it is a form of divination. There's also just plainly getting your name number, which is just taking your name and getting the number, which then corresponds to something. A lot of that is under numerology, and a lot of it is also, some of it is in divination. It's hard to separate the two. There's also ways of divination through astrology. Divination actually can link to numerology. It can link to warrant cunning or potion making. It can link to numerology, astrology, as I said, warrant cunning, even actually to different forms of healing and meditation, and reading of the auras, and that can be used for divination. And dreams, it's many different things. Dreams is a very common one, I might add. But anyway, I don't want to go on divination, but I'll be doing extra videos, as I said, on different types of divination. Anyway, until next time, thank you so much. Keep watching, learning, and reading. Bye-bye.